My name is Sue Drake, founder and president of Drake Resources. As an Ascendis expert, we provide a variety of communication, relationship, and project management, skill-building, learning content on the Ascendis LMS platform. We believe everyone can grow in their interpersonal skills, and emerging or new leaders especially need these skills to be successful. Our content consists of self-paced workbooks, practice activities, and many, many tools and supportive resources. Take a look to see for yourself how you can strengthen your interpersonal skills with our easy, manageable learning experiences.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining the Ascendis Executive Hour. I'm Lauren Young of Theory 61, and I'm so excited to moderate this very special webinar / live demonstration and introduce many of you for the very first time to the Ascendis Leadership Academy. And tonight I'm joined by the founder of the Ascendis Leadership Academy and our fearless leader of the Ascendis Experts, Sue Drake. Welcome, Sue.
Hello, everyone.
So Sue is here, and I had a chance to chat with some of you privately on the chat before we got started. So it looks like we have people joining from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast today. So thanks so much for making us part of your evening. And I'll go over to the next slide, where you can find my contact information as well as Sue's if you'd like to stay in contact with us after the webinar. So we have a lot to get to, so I won't keep you in suspense too long. Just a few housekeeping rules before we begin. Please keep your audio on mute to eliminate any background noise during the conference. But if you have a question in the meantime, or you want to submit additional comments to Sue or I during this presentation, you're welcome to participate by using the chat feature, which is at the bottom of your screen. And just a reminder, there will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar where Sue will be happy to answer as many questions as she can during our allotted time. So if that sounds good, we'll move on to the next slide, which is going to show you some results from our registration poll. So when everybody logged in to sign up for this webinar, we did ask one question, and that's, what type of learner are you? So there are three main types: auditory, visual, and tactile. So you see the results here on the slide. 25% say that they like to process things out loud. 17% prefer diagrams and graphs the best. And the majority of the people who registered for this webinar tonight said that they love photos and videos. That's the best way they learn. So the good news is you're in luck, because the beauty of the Ascendis Leadership Academy is that no matter your learning style, there are modules, workbooks, podcasts, and a wealth of other formats embedded in this learning management system that will serve you and can serve your entire staff on your quest to become better leaders. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Sue to give you an overview of what the Ascendis Leadership Academy is and what you can look forward to seeing in tonight's live demonstration. Take it away, Sue.
Well, thanks, Lauren. And again, thank you, everyone, for joining us. I know on the East Coast, it's 6:30, Central Time 5:30, and West Coast, it's 4:30. So bottom line, it's your dinner hour. And I know you're giving that up to be with us, so I'm grateful. But we thought this time frame might be a little bit easier on people. People can't even get away for lunch anymore. So our lunch webinars are struggling a little bit too, just because of availability. What I'm going to do right now is just show you with these 5 bullets some of the key principles behind the Leadership Academy. I'm going to go back once we're actually doing the live demo and point out what each of these mean, but let's quickly just go through the list and say for some of the benefits, one of the biggest ones is that this is not a leadership program that's designed to replace anything that already exists. It supplements it. And I'll explain a little bit more what we mean by that. So we're not here to take over or compete with anything that's already out there. What we're here to do is provide something that we believe does not exist yet, but is required and there is a gap in this particular area on leadership development. And that is because it supports new and emerging leaders. It's those people who have some type of aspirations. They're ambitious. They do want to grow in their profession, but they're young, or they may just don't have the opportunities in their organization. So when we say new and emerging, it's not necessarily about age, although predominantly it would be the younger set, but it'd be for those people who are just entering into the role of being a leader, whether it's group leader, supervision, frontline supervision, early management. And some of these are just roles that people aspire to, but they're not given any organizational support to get there. Once again, I'll come back and explain why we believe that is such a need for these particular future leaders for our organizations, for our country, for everything. What we also realized, as Lauren was just stating, is that we wanted to make this learning management system accessible for people on the go. So as most of us are, we are in our cars, we are on trains, we are on planes, we are moving from one facility to another, from one office building to another. Rarely do we sit at our desks all day long. And so there are moments when we're out and about when maybe we can just take 15 minutes, a half hour, and take a little course or read up on something. And so it's because of our mobile environment that we've created this platform that's scalable, and it does go very well and displays very well on multiple types and sizes of devices. Also, it allows everyone to learn whenever they want to. It's available 24/7. As I just mentioned, during the workday, it's hard to learn. I don't know if anybody can really set that time aside. So we need to be able to bring the learning to people when they're available, which is nights, weekends, or maybe very early in the morning, maybe at lunch, at a break, you know, whatever time frame they have available. And again, it might be only 15 minutes. So they may have to proceed at 15-minute increments all over a period of time. So it allows employees, it could be volunteers, it could be members of associations. We'll talk about that as well. Anyone who is desiring to up their own professional development, we want to meet them where they're at. And of course, because of our various learning styles, we want a variety of course deliveries, webinars, podcasts, workbooks, e-learning, tools, tricks, all of that we have available. So now that you see kind of the principles behind the site, let's go ahead and get started and actually look at it. So I'm going to scoot over now to the website. On the home page, what we are going to be doing right now is explaining a little bit more of the background and how we arrived at this particular platform. When I say we, it's a group effort. It's not the Sue Drake Show. It's not Drake Resources. It's a group of individuals, my colleagues who I've known for many years, and we've come together and for some similar thought processes as well as desire, we came together 15 months ago and talked about the future of the Ascendis Learning Connection, which is the group of experts that I'm referring to. And in our conversation, which is a 4-hour brainstorming session, we came to the conclusion that what we have to offer is really great for that new and emerging leader. When we talked about leadership, which is all of our passion, we realized across the board, our common experience with our clients is that those organizations do have leadership development programs, but they're designed and offered primarily for people who are already in leadership, who already have experience. So it might be the mid-manager level and above. And so organizations are willing to invest in those people, one, because they've been around, they're dependable, they're loyal, they have a vision for those individuals, they have a progression, a path for those folks. It's worth the investment. But our thought, our guess, and it is a theory, our guess is that companies are not necessarily willing to invest in someone who's not tried and true. It might be the person who's voiced an interest but has not really demonstrated the capabilities. It might be, again, due to reputation, let's say, that the younger people are not loyal. that they're going to leave after a period of time, that they're not dependable, that they're so independently minded that they're not going to want to collaborate and do what the organization wants to do. So we're finding that we're facing some of these myths, we believe are myths, as far as why are young leaders not offered opportunities to grow. And so therefore our passion grew. Our passion to help these individuals became our focal point. Now, although we have had our own experiences, we knew that we needed some credibility to support our own theories. And I'm going to bypass this visual area, and I'm going to go down now to a little bit further on the home page and show you that right here we have a variety of resources that we went ahead and reviewed. Some of us already had these items, and some of them we went out and found to just compare. What are other organizations doing? What are other consulting firms doing in the area of leadership? What does it look like for the future? What does leadership competencies that make up all these leadership development programs, are there any commonalities across them? And so we took several months to do our legwork, our research, to confirm our theories and our thoughts on the matter. And what we're showing here now is what we believe are the top resources that in a way defend our theory, but also were very credible and have been used in other capacities. So we invite you, as you do your own leadership development research, to come back to our site here and take a look at some of these yourself. This is not something we made up. These are articles, research, a lot of depth in experimentation and what's going on right now in the whole art of leadership has been documented here. So what we thought was, I think we're onto something. We believe that we have something that's credible, that has experience behind it, and yet we have this nuance, this angle of what we're wanting to do is to support that person that really hasn't been given an opportunity yet to develop their skills. Not only did we do this research from out in the internet at large, but we also did our own survey. We surveyed over 10,000 people in an anonymous survey, and we received a response of 1,500. So if you do the math, that's a 15% response rate, which is incredible. Typical surveys get 3 to 4%. We received 15%. The 10,000 people consists of folks from the Association of Talent and Development. We all know what that group's all about. The American Management Association, we know what that group's all about. We actually took out a Google ad, just ad hoc, to see whoever was going to respond to it. And then we also did submit the survey to our own contacts. And again, we just felt that the survey was quite successful in pointing out very similarly what the needs are, what the future hope is for companies, what they're looking for with skills within their organization. And it verified that there is a gap in providing this new group of people, new leaders, what they need to use for their own future development. Again, just gave us credibility, gave us ammunition, motivation to keep the ball rolling. The results of our research and our own survey then became the basis of 2 podcasts. I'd ask you to listen to those at your leisure. The first one is just, first of all, what is a learning management system, which is the platform? Why is it so useful? And secondly, why are we providing it in this area of leadership development? So 2 parts. Again, take a moment, listen, and get some more of the summary of our survey and some of the research. You can use this too for your own benefits if you're needing to provide research and findings for your own decision makers in your own organization. We're hoping to provide you with whatever you need to make your case and develop your cause. So all of that took about 3 to 4 months. We're now talking literally about a year ago in February when we embarked on the development of this site, which now is called the Ascendis Leadership Academy. Another resource for you might be this visual, for those of you who are visual people, an infographic that once again supports the research and our survey findings. Please feel free to download it and use it again for your own benefits. So I'm moving up here to the group of 9 squares, and you can kind of think of it like those game show type things, game show hosts, where you're going to maneuver around the matrix, the 9 matrix at large. When we were, again, looking at the existing leadership competencies, the Lominger model, the AMA model, there's also Center for Creative Leadership model, all of those. What we noticed is that there were some commonalities. And so we took those commonalities, drilled them down, condensed and concised them into what we have what we're calling 9 competencies. What we also did is recognize that the progression of the 9 competencies moves from focusing on oneself to focusing on others, and then going into focusing and leading an organization. So, because I'm going to go back here and ask this rhetorical question. I ask this one a lot, and I'll just let it hang. But my question is, how do we think we're going to be able to lead others if we really cannot lead ourselves well? So leadership development starts with self, with us as individuals. Have we demonstrated the ability to be self-motivated, intrinsically motivated, to do what we need to do to get ourselves to that next level of our ambition? You know, some people talk about they want to get in management, but obviously they don't demonstrate it. Their behaviors are not observable enough to say, well, we've talked about it, but we're not really seeing anything. So we believe that we need to focus then and point out, emphasize that leadership begins with ourselves, and not just when I'm first beginning as a leader, but throughout my leadership career. I'm always looking at myself, self-reflecting. What am I doing that is impacting others, that is impacting the organization? Do I need to make a change? Do I need a new attitude? Do I need to learn a new skill? What is it that I'm lacking? Self-reflection, self-awareness is a key ingredient to effective and successful leadership. So I can't under-stress that enough or over-stress it. This is something that we really believe in as leadership and Ascendis learning connection experts, is that we begin with ourselves. After that, if we've proven that we do have what it takes to lead ourselves, now we can lead others, and you can see in 3 competency areas. And as we grow in that and become more effective, then we can start thinking about, how am I going to make an impact for the future on my organization? Each of the competency groupings also has skills listed. So I'm going to drill down a little bit now and show you that, once again, we have taken this to the action level. Each competency group or bucket, whatever you want to call it, has 3 to 5 skills associated with it. Again, these are common across the leadership competency models. They're not things we made up. We might have rephrased things a bit to make it more succinct. Some of those leadership competency models are a little verbose. We were even having a little trouble to figure out, what does that really mean? So it took us a few rounds, I'd say probably 3 or 4 rounds of review amongst ourselves to hone in on succinct skill phrases that are easy for us to remember, and also for us to be able to provide content to support those skills. We wanted also for the site to be manageable, easily maneuverable. And when you have a laundry list of competency buckets and a laundry list of skills, it just becomes overwhelming and unwieldy. So our desire is ease of use, ease of navigation, ease of understanding. Within each competency bucket, like I said, with the list of skills, we also have now our content. And our content is being built based on experience, years, decades of experience with our experts, who I will introduce to you in just a moment. There are 4 of us on this webinar today, so I will have personal introductions, and I'll also show you areas where you can learn more about them. But what I want to do here is just kind of point out, you know, we have courses with descriptions. I'm going to go back out to the home page. And you can see as I move around, the navigation is variable as well. So we'll go into into this engagement competency. You can see there again, we have 5 skills and we have a few more learning experiences here related to that one. Let's go back out. Let's go into one of the organization competency buckets. Let's do strategic thinking. And again, I encourage you to maneuver on your own, like dig in, go through all of this. It's really just a 1 or 2 step click. You know, you just go down and back up. It's very easy to get around. Within each of the courses itself then are those things that we mentioned earlier, the webinars, the tools, and I'm going to show you a little bit in just a bit, but I wanted to point that out. Right here, right now, it's just the title and a brief description about what that particular learning experience contains. So if we go back to our 5 purposes of the site, what I just demonstrated is that really you can access this anywhere on a little mobile device, tablet, even a phone, up to your laptop, computers, etc. So those people on the go have easy access to this. It allows employees to learn at their own pace in small buckets or little bits of time, and then we have a variety of learning experiences for the variety of learning styles. So as we're talking about content, let's go back and find out where it came from. It came from a group of people that are our experts. So we have 7 experts that make up our consultants, our experts consultants. I'm going to demonstrate just right now how it's set up with their backgrounds. We have photos, where they're from, what their specialty area is. You can also learn more about them on LinkedIn. Each expert has a LinkedIn profile. Well, joining us today is Nicole DeFalco. There she is, and isn't she gorgeous? We have Cassandra O'Neill. Cassandra's our fun person on our team. She makes us laugh all the time. We also have Lauren, as you heard earlier. There's Lauren, and then of course you see myself. So again, these folks have been in their sphere, in their expertise area for decades, and we don't want to go to the exact age, but we'll just leave it at that. A lot of experience across multiple industries. Going back out to the home page, we made a list of them. If you see your industry noted, you know we have experience there. So collectively, our experts have worked with companies in all these various industry areas. Moving along then, what I'd like to now go back to is talking about who this particular platform is designed for. We have some of the photos here just to kind of represent them. But again, remember, it's for the new and emerging leaders who are part of larger organizations who may not have a leadership development program available to them. But there also our target markets will be like associations, members who are looking for additional professional development that doesn't exist at the moment. We're trying to reach out to associations and libraries, nonprofits, small businesses, middle-sized businesses, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of these groups do not have the resources to build a learning management system that supports their learner, and they don't have an active talent and development program. So again, we've realized that from our own worlds of working with these organizations that there is a lack there, and we're here to serve those audience groups. So once again, just to kind of review here, I know I've been chatting quite a bit. The site's been built for those new to leadership based on competencies and skills, and the content is provided by experts with deep experience in their area. I mentioned too that I wanted to give you a chance to look at some of the content. So where would you begin if you are interested in looking further? This is the place to go, our complementary area. We have a leadership assessment. I'll explain that again in a moment. But if you notice, we have these same buckets of 9 leadership competencies. And inside each of these are learning experiences. I'll go into one. Courses that include, again, a variety of deliverable types. In the complementary area, you're going to see smaller sections. You might see a portion of a webinar. You might have a tool or a resource. You might have just one module of the whole course. But again, they are the real thing. We're showing you what's available throughout the entire site. For an individual who wants to know where to begin, though, which of the 9 competency groups should I begin at, I want to point out that we do have an assessment. I'm showing you a sample one. It's just a portion of it. The assessment contains 41 questions. Our sample, which are the exact same questions, consists of 9. 1 for each of the 9 competencies. So here it is. It's very simple. They're broken down again, those 3 groupings. 1 question in our sample asks the individual to rate themselves. Consider again their self-awareness. How well or how often do they organize, in this case for focus, organize their time and work to align with the organizational priorities? And each question has the same rating scale. Almost never, rarely, frequently, usually, almost always. What we're hoping is, again, people are self-aware enough to be able to answer this as accurately as possible. But can we really guarantee that? Probably not. So what I'd like to suggest is those of you on the call who are in organizations or enterprises, you might want to consider this as part of your performance review process. It can be a 180 between the emerging leader and their immediate supervisor. It could be a 360. There's things that we can do to make it a little bit more accurate, but again, we begin with self. So let's see what these folks can say about themselves. As I thought back to my first leadership role, I was 26 and I became the manager of a department. 2 years later, I became the VP of a division. So under 30, I'm already in upper management. Believe me, I didn't have any support at all. So as I think back on my personal experience, did I organize my time and work to align with the organizational priorities? Maybe once in a while. Infrequently I did. I knew I should, but didn't always know how to do it. Did I recover from difficulties and setbacks? No, I wasn't very good at that back then. Better at it now. Was I able to explore problems from multiple perspectives? No, not really. So you can see at age 26 or 28, I wasn't really that self-aware. I did start leading others though. I skipped that self-awareness and jumped in. So how often did I meet with others to generate creative ideas, provide timely communication, and promote collaboration? Actually, I did that more often than not. That was something just normal for me to do. Did I develop others by helping them to perform to their best? I really tried. I might not have done it effectively, but I really had their best interest in mind. And how often did I direct how the tasks were implemented then, determine what was to be accomplished in the future? I did that pretty well. Again, I think that's why I was promoted, is that I could demonstrate those particular competencies and skills. At the organizational level, again, at that age, did I seek ways to improve and create new ways of working? No, I can't say that I really did. Did I anticipate impending customer and industry changes? No, I was a little too focused on what I needed to do that day. Did I identify and implement opportunities for improvement, assess and streamline work processes? You know, I probably had some awareness of it, but not that often. So in any case, an individual taking this quick assessment, notice how quickly it went, even for the sample, and 41 questions might take 10 minutes. It goes very fast. We then collectively provide a summary of what they selected. In this case, there is one question for each of the 9 competencies for a total of 5 points. Based on what I selected is what is showing up now. And I can print out these results then and have it handy to refer back to. Each of the 3 groupings, leading self, leading others, leading organizations, has their own summary from this assessment. We believe it's a great way to get one started on their gaps, their skill gaps, their knowledge gaps. So after taking the assessment, now I can look at, out of the 9, where should I begin? Where do I dig in and start to build in those areas that I am weak, that need strengthening? Again, this could be a really great tool to go along with performance reviews and get a sense of how are people involved in assessing and thinking about these things if they have voiced the interest in leading others down the road. After you've taken the assessment, maybe you've gone through some of the complementary content, the question then becomes, am I ready to make the commitment to my own leadership development? And if I'm ready to commit, what do? I start embarking on that leadership learning journey. And our site then is sponsored in that way as a subscription, an annual subscription. So for one price at the date of purchase, I'm able to access the skills assessment. For 1 year, access all of the courses that we have available, all of our content, including things that are being added. And I'll tell you, we already have spaces that we're noting, things that are yet to come. We're adding new courses, we're adding webinars and podcasts from our experts. So the content will continue to expand. Some of the content even provides additional assessments in that particular topical area. And of course, we're demonstrating a learning path for individuals. We'd like to be able to get groups together and have discussion forums on particular areas. We've already got that in conversation. And again, as we've been mentioning, we have a variety of learning content and deliverables. From now till the end of February, a one-person subscription is $3.99. In March, it'll go up to $4.24, which is 15% discount. Right now, it's at 20%. Starting April 1st, our full price of $4.99 will begin. Those of you who are thinking, though, about purchasing maybe for a group of people, we do have enterprise subscription options for 10 or more employees. Please contact me, contact us. We're wanting to see what your ideas are for that, what you think might be suitable and appropriate. We don't want to second guess it. We want to hear from you first, and we will then build the packages upon what we hear are the common requirements. But you may have a custom solution. If you know Drake Resources, my other organization, everything we do is based on the unique needs of each organization. So we're happy to talk to you and figure out what it is that you would like to offer to your learners. The next thing would be, though, once you're started, is to create your login account. I'm going to back over to our PowerPoint and show you the process of creating a login account. It's very simple. The first thing is we need contact information and a user ID and password. We've given instructions on how that works. We need an email address, a little bit of your background, and that's really about it. You will then be sent an email to the email address that you've provided for confirmation. That allows our system to start talking to your system through your network and so forth. It also will identify if we have some firewalls that we need to work with. So as an enterprise, we've had to work with that, and we're happy to do that, to figure out how our systems can talk together. Here's just a sample of the email confirmation that you will receive. You click on a link, and that'll again take you back to the site. Now you have a login account that will track with you your progress, keep the results of the leadership assessment, along with your unique ID, private, secure. No one else sees that. As an enterprise, we can provide some reports for you. If you'd like to see the progress of your people, we're happy to do that. I'm going to go back once again to the site, and then we're going to start talking about your questions. While you're crafting some of those questions, what I'd like to say is that our site is ongoing. It's dynamic. It's constantly changing. We have ways of providing additional information to you in the form of webinars. In fact, next week, Cassandra is going to be sharing with you her latest on some new research that she's been finding for collaboration purposes and engagement at the organizational level. We have either a webinar or a podcast every month. That content will become part of the site, added where it's applicable within the 9 competency groups. We send out monthly newsletters with the trends and research that we're doing regularly. You'll have that at your fingertips, as well as additional articles will be provided in our blog. So this is not just a one-time deal. This is an ongoing, evolving, expanding initiative, something that we believe in. It's going to stay fresh. As experts, we constantly update our content as we are working with our clients. And we want to provide another avenue to share that content with those of you who would like to provide it or receive it at this platform level. So why don't we pause now and take some questions. Lauren, I'll send it over to you to see, do we have any in the chat feature?
All right, thanks, Sue. That was great. So everybody, please chime in. We're happy to hear from you. There is a chat button at the bottom of your screen. I'm inviting you to share some of your questions or comments with us as they come along. You did have a few come through as you were talking about various parts of the system, Sue. So the first one is, how long will it take you to complete one of the modules? So I'm guessing, for example, they're asking, how long will it take to complete leading self or leading others?
It does vary. I would say, as I'm thinking on what the content we have today, between 2 hours and maybe 10 hours for the whole bucket. Every course or learning experience is broken down, though, and smaller. You don't have to have a 10-hour block of time. Each course can be 15 to 30 minutes, or it could be up to 2 hours broken down into multiple modules or lessons. So as the content expands, obviously that length of time expands. I would say, though, don't feel like you have to complete or go through all the courses within it. You're going to select ones that you think are better fit or best fit for what you need at the time. You can always come back and take more at a later date. It really is probably going to depend on your circumstances. If you're the completion type person and you want to cross it off your list, there is a range right now, and it's running between 2 hours and about 10 hours.
All right, very good question. All right, here's another one that came in while you were doing your demo. This is great, and I'm surprised no other organization has offered this for leadership. How did you decide to get this started?
Again, just talking about our passions of wanting to help those, since we work with a lot of millennials, the 20-somethings, early 30s, and we're kind of seeing them struggle a bit to get on board. I can tell a personal story, though. I mean, I think our own motivations have a real-life realm to them. And my personal passion came from my own son. He's 34 now, almost 35. But I've watched him in his career. He's very ambitious. I don't know where he gets that from. Maybe his mother. I don't know. But he's embarked. He's in the healthcare clinical side. And he was in the clinics for about 8 years after finishing college and realized, he didn't want to do that the rest of his life. He saw what he liked in observing the management in his particular practice. And so he mentioned that. Just as I said earlier, he voiced an interest in moving into a leadership capacity and got very little response. They're like, okay, well, good luck, was kind of the impression that he received, because there was nothing out there. There were not one open job for one, but two, he couldn't find anything to give him some sense of what it was going to be required. So he just went on his own way. He embarked on trying to get where he wanted to go. And so again, when you have that intrinsic motivation from someone, you want to pay attention to that. There's nothing available and they're trying to make their own path. You might want to grab that opportunity and lead them along the path that you would like. Of course, being a mom, I chatted with him about that, gave him some tips and pointers and things that he could do. First thing that he did is he asked to take on a major project role. not just as a project manager, but he actually had a supervisor title because he supervised consultants and contractors, not necessarily direct employees, but there were hundreds of them. And so he had to manage a huge schedule, facilities, time, pay scale, all of that. So he demonstrated that he could deal with detail and work with others. But that wasn't enough for him. He did that for a couple of years and was ready to move on. His immediate supervisor, who is a manager, was not someone he could sit down and talk to. It was very apparent that this gentleman liked the way things were, didn't want to change. And so my son ended up going around him and above him to try to get the ear of other people within his practice. And again, found that that organization was not real open to promoting from within and helping their own staff. So for a 2-year period of time, he started going out and interviewing with other organizations. He put out over 100 resumes. He went on 18 interviews and made it down to the 3rd interview on several of them. Again, because he didn't have the experience and he didn't have the training, he wasn't taken seriously. Even though he can show and demonstrate his certain skills and aptitudes, he couldn't prove by stories until he ended up running into one of a previous manager who now is at a VP level in another organization. The two remembered each other. This VP became a mentor. And my son now just received a new promotion, 3 grades above where he started.
Wow.
And so, I mean, again, that's my personal story because I saw for over 4 years how he tried to gain the ear of his immediate management staff to no avail. But he finally did find someone within a separate organization but affiliated that he could trust and who trusted him. I know my son's not the only one, is really the moral of the story. He's just one, but it's a real story. And there's so many others who try and get nowhere. And I just feel bad for them and I want to serve those folks.
That's so awesome. All right. We have another question that just came in. So someone's actually interested in becoming one of the Ascendis experts. So they're asking, if I wanted to be included as an expert, what would I need to do? What are the qualifications? Sue, would you like to share some of that, or is that all secret?
No, not secret at all. Hey, the first thing is self-awareness. So let me go there and say, as you review the site, as you see what's being provided, do you believe your content and who you are is a good fit? Do you see that your content would fit the skill sets and the competency groups that we have already identified? Or we really want to add on to the content that we have. Do you believe it's a good fit? Are you interested in working with the young people like in my story? Do you have a personal passion for those individuals? Do you want to come alongside them and help them? Is that your target market? Last, I would say, because of the type of content that we have, are you comfortable delivering webinars and podcasts? Do you give speeches and presentations that can be recorded? Do you understand what interactivity means and engaging your learner? Are you able to create assessments that really go at the heart of the skill, behavior, attitude that's needing to be changed? If you have those background experiences, then let's talk. I would love to see what you have, and let's see what we can do and build a partnership together.
That's wonderful. All right. Those are all the questions we have so far, Sue. Did you want to throw it over to the experts to chat quickly?
Well, yes, as I mentioned earlier, we have 4 of us on the call right now, and we thought it might be helpful for those of us here to describe how our course content has actually made a difference in someone else's life. So what I'd like to do is if I could call on Nicole right now. Nicole, would you be able to join us by audio and give us an idea of a real story of how your content has really served a new leader.
Sure, Sue. Thank you so much for putting this together. I really appreciate it. You've done an excellent job overviewing the site. So the story that I'll share is a great one. We worked with a shared services group. So this was kind of an internal consulting organization. So they provided services for their own company, and they were really feeling the repercussions of trying to chase credibility solely through tactical performance. So they're kind of a hero one day when things were going well, and then they were a goat the next. And when they approached us about this, they talked about the fact that if their internal clients just only understood them better, if they only got all the value that we could bring, it'd be amazing, what we would be able to do for them. And interestingly enough, departments in the organization had so little faith in this group that they would actually hire external vendors to do the same work that this group could do. So it was really adding a lot of cost into the system as well. So we worked with them. Our methodology is all about helping emerging and experienced leaders to break down silos, build trust, increase their influence, because what we believe is that it's really about the relationships, that handling relationships and working with people is really how leaders contribute the most value, but it also tends to be the most challenging aspect of their role. So we came in with this group and we worked with them. We provided them with tools and a methodology and a lot of skill development to help them be more proactive about relationship building. They had a great mindset shift. They went from this "if they only understood us" mentality to more of a mindset of seeking first to understand before trying to be understood. And because of that mindset shift, because of the skills that we worked with them on, the empathy that they developed walking a mile in their clients' shoes, they were really able to transform themselves from order takers and scapegoats into trusted partners. And what we heard back from the groups that they served was that they then perceived our clients as indispensable members of their team. And some of the other terms that their stakeholders shared back with them where they felt like they were working towards mutual goals and objectives. So it made a real difference. It was transformative for this particular group.
Wow, that's cool. That's a great story. I can just envision it too. Sharing it. Thanks, Nicole.
Sure.
Cassandra, can I call on you now to share a story about one of your course offerings?
Thanks, Sue. The story I was thinking of sharing, I was thinking about it when you were talking about your son. Sometimes what happens is the opposite of what happened to him, is somebody says to a person, "Here, you're going to be a supervisor today." And they have no preparation or training. They maybe have never supervised anyone before. And, if they get any training at all, it might be, months away or years away. And so I developed this manual workbook / module on being a good supervisor. And it's, as you were describing earlier, it's part workbook, part directing people to watch some TED Talks and look at some assessments that they can fill out. And it really goes over kind of the fundamentals of what you need to know when you're supervising other human beings. And, without knowing this, people default to either kind of how they were treated or, how they don't want to be treated if they had bosses or supervisors that they didn't enjoy. So this is like a gold mine of information, and it's all in one place. So I have a client that is a new supervisor. She'd never supervised anyone before, and I was able to have her use this as a resource, and it made a huge difference because she felt really confident in kind of getting the basics about like what does science tell us and neuroscience tell us about what really motivates people, how to have positive relationships and positive attitudes, how to pause and listen and ask questions that are going to elicit real information, because sometimes people think, oh, I have to be a mind reader and guess what is going to work with this person. Well, that person is your biggest resource. So if you don't feel confident in being able to ask them questions, then you're really missing out and you're just going to be ending up, experimenting or guessing. So that module and workbook is in there, and then it was really a wonderful thing that this person was able to review it, and then we were able to talk about it, and it was so much more, in depth than if I had just been able to like share a piece of it or here as an article, because you're looking at all of these important issues, but they're all interrelated. So that was something that is in the LMS that I thought was a good thing to talk about.
Well, it sounds like you have really helped minimize the pain for this new leader, so that she's not figuring it out on her own and then getting herself in a bind when it's too late.
Yeah, exactly. And just in time, because she was able to do it before she even had her first meeting with her new employee.
That's awesome. That's great. Thank you, Cassandra. Lauren, how about yourself?
All right, so I'll jump back in. So last year I was working with a university that was kind of at a loss of how to increase their enrollment via their brand and their marketing presence. So they had many departments working together, but brand and marketing was being looked at as, you guys cost a lot of money to the organization. You need to be able to show something for your work. So they had such a large following on social media and their website and their blog. So everything looked on the surface like it was going very well, but these individuals were not engaged at all. So what I did was I came in and started off by developing a consumer behavior study, because I wanted to find the moments of truth within the university. So when an individual decided to become a prospective student to an actual student, what was the step that got them there, versus connecting with the school on social media and staying engaged or involved after they became alumni. So we wanted to see where those points were. And also out of the survey, we started to understand that a lot of the sentiment was the voice of the university via social media and the blog did not match the profile or the persona of the ideal student. So as a matter of fact, a lot of the comments came back that the students and alumni felt like they were being talked at or talked down to, because a lot of the messaging made them feel bad about the struggle that they went through working full-time and trying to manage a part-time or full-time course load. So a lot of these individuals were non-traditional students, or they took a job to support their families, and they didn't go to school, immediately after high school. So they're trying to better their lives. They're trying to, get to the next level in their organization, or just, fulfill a personal goal of getting their master's or their bachelor's degree. So it's something that they should be, celebrated for, not, made to feel that you did it so late, you need to hurry up and, catch up to the rest of the individuals, in our society. So what ended up happening was I talked to them and said, this is the target market, or the group that you're talking to is not represented in your marketing department. Everybody is over a certain age or from a certain background, and they don't understand what these students are going through or their experiences. So it may be important not to just hire millennials because they're young and they know social media, but people who actually come from the same backgrounds as these students, or even hire some of your students to come in because they totally understand. So helping them through that took a little bit of organizational change training. It took some leadership training, because some of these roles that we need to fill within the marketing department were not roles that existed before. And some of these people had never been in a leadership role where, you post something and it's live for the entire world to see. So going through that and making sure they were comfortable with it and making sure that leadership understood the purpose of it, it went over really well. So they're doing extremely well now. So I'm very happy to say that. So I only have to come in a couple times a year just to check on them and do updated training. So it went really well.
Yeah, so that's a case study in an organization and how it crafts its messaging and communication, and is it aligning with reality?
Right.
Or not. Or not. And so you're able to help them with that communication. So I'm going to kind of piggyback on that, Lauren, and just share my case study story in a communication role, but the modes of communication or the devices that we're using, I'm all about communication and communicating effectively, honestly, accurately. What we have a little trouble, though, is with some of our new hires coming out of an academic environment. They are not familiar with the realm or the expectations of business communication or organizational communication. And specifically what I mean, the only way that they like to communicate might be via text. They've been doing that for years from school with their friends, students, etc. And as a business, we've taken on texting as a way to communicate. The trouble is not in the device, it's in the way one uses it, in their grammar, in the etiquette of how to effectively use the texting mode of communication. And so we ended up creating a course called Communicating with Impact, because one of our clients in an IT area said they were having a lot of trouble with their software engineers communicating with each other and within their group and with other people within the organization, because they only knew how to text. So they were bringing in their style of communicating via text and using it in an email scenario, possibly as responding quickly to a voicemail or something like that, or not even picking up the phone and responding in return. It sounds simple and it sounds trite, but it's so amazing after 30-some years in doing adult learning that we're still dealing with communication skills or lack thereof. We're adjusting, yes, on technique and device, but the premise behind how we communicate with one another has not changed. So I share that with you, that it's just amazing. After all these years, we're still doing that. Communicating is such a key skill for leadership development, whether it's with myself and someone else within the group, or to Lauren's point, organizationally, to Cassandra's point, with a supervisor, to one of her direct reports, to Nicole's point, as they're trying to work with engagement. And it's just incredible how we can't take that for granted. Leadership must focus in on self and must focus in on our abilities to communicate effectively with a variety of people. So let's just leave it at that. I think we've come to a close within our tour of the site, the principles behind the Ascendis Leadership Academy. We hope and will enjoy your partnership in this. Please let us know if you have any other questions. Happy to call, email, text anytime with you.
Thanks, Sue. I don't see any additional questions here in the chat section, so I'll go ahead and wrap this edition of the Ascendis Executive Hour. If you have any questions in the meantime, you can join the Ascendis Leadership Academy at this URL here. And Sue and I would like to say thank you very much on behalf of the entire Ascendis team for your participation. You heard from Nicole, you heard from Cassandra, you heard from I. We are all in this and we're all happy to answer any questions you may have. And we hope you learned something about this learning management system. It's so important right now, and obviously it's making an impact in the lives of many people, various organizations. So make sure you sign up tonight for your account. Take advantage of that complimentary content that's available. And then we hope to see you next week on Valentine's Day for Cassandra's webinar. So thanks again so much. Take care, and we'll talk to you in a week.